Because if you want to make food popular, I think we need to make food popular from different angles, from the literature side, from the industry side, from the education side, from any other side. We kind of like bombardize like everything with food, right? With Indonesian food excellence. I think that it's worth the effort.
Sorry, storytelling gives you context, and I think context then gives weight to whatever you do. I just hope there's more acceptance towards our own food, that we can place a premium on it. It's not just considered as hawker food or kaki lima food. You know, like these things can be done properly too. You know, you gotta be willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Name one book, one dish, and one destination. Go.
Go, Kevin.
One book. Oh goodness. Should I do this? Okay. One destination Yogyakarta. One dish is krecek, and then one book is edible economics.
Was it one book, one food, and one?
One book, one dish, and one destination.
Oh, shit, one book. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. One food, steamed fish, Chinese style. One destination has to be here in Indonesia.
Anywhere.
Okay. I'll go to Guangzhou.
Oh wow! Very cool. Hi and welcome to a special Shelf Therapy podcast series brought to you by Oppal and in collaboration with Ubud Food Festival, filmed here in the super stylish 25 Hours Hotel. I'm your host Laksmi, and today we'll be diving deep into the world of food and books. In our first episode, I'll be talking to Chef Vallian Gunawan from Kindling and Kevindra Soemantri, who is a food writer and co-founder of Esa Restaurant. Hi everyone. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Well.
Good. Never felt better coming here. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making the time.
And thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. It's so wonderful to be able to finally do this because I'm so excited today to talk about books and food with the both of you. But before we go into the bigger and more serious questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give us a glimpse of your world in the food world.
Well,
I'm a chef, so basically my world revolves around food in the kitchen, and also I run a restaurant in Cikini, Jakarta. Then that role expanded into managing everything from the lighting, the music, the message we send across the marketing, not just the food now.
Mm-hmm.
oh wow.
So what's your restaurant?
It's called Kindling, Kindling Jakarta. It's located in Cikini Raya, in Menteng.
Mm-hmm. And before that, could you tell us a little bit about your background as a chef and also your education?
So for school, I attended a polytechnic that was primarily focused on food business. So you do learn about accounting, like making up a business plan and all that stuff, but not so much into the practicality of working in a kitchen. Which then I went on to learn on the job through a few restaurants that I've worked in my whole career, mainly French restaurants. Actually, most of them are French restaurants in the fine dining or semi-fine dining settings. And that's basically the shape of my early career that formed the base of what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in knowing more about how you got into the food world and your sort of childhood, but let's talk about your world now, Kevindra. You're known to be, the food writer that you are today, and you also run a very successful restaurant. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what drives you.
What drives me? Hunger.
Hunger. That's a great one.
That's a great one. So my background is actually food writing. So before all of this restaurant thingy, I co-own Esa Restaurant at a CBD business district. But before that, I think until today, I'm still a writer at heart. So I write about restaurants. I used to be the dining columnist for the Jakarta Post for almost 4 years, I think, 4.5 years. I wrote books. And basically anything about food in general, especially food and society. That's my main, biggest interest. about the correlation between food and society, and now food and economics, and then food with anthropology, all stuff like that.
Hey guys, I have some really exciting news for all of you. Starting now, every odd Sunday just got a whole lot more exciting with Sunday brunch at Kopa Restaurant 25 Hours Hotel, The Oddbird, Jakarta. For only 489,000 plus per person, you can enjoy a lively brunch full of rich and lively, vibrant flavors of Latin American cuisine. You're so passionate about your career. So far, what do you think is your sort of like biggest, most proud achievement?
I think writing to finish Jakarta a dining history. My book, so I wrote that book for 6 years. For 6 years, it's about the first book about the history of Jakarta from the perspective of restaurants, the history of the restaurants. That so I begin the journey with, I think, in 1815, so 200 years ago, until 1998. Yeah, it's almost spans between 200 years, and it took me 6 years of research and then interviewing people and then gaining perspective of what was the dining scene back then during the colonial era, and then how was the dining scene during the revolution, and then Indonesian independence, and then how was the dining scene during the boom of economic Indonesia in the 70s and 80s, and how's dining scene today. So I think that's my proudest achievement.
Oh wow. Does this book sort of have anything to do with your latest project, your restaurant? Is it sort of your way of bringing this book to life?
Well, I think it's kind of in some way, because our restaurant Esa, the main idea is we want to bring the identity of Jakarta as the main spirit and story of the restaurant. But I think it's more about, the restaurant is more about Aditya, me and Jessica. It's about three of us. So I think if you ask like what is the best way to make the book into a living experience, I think I want to make a documentary about it.
I see.
Yeah. Soon, perhaps.
Hopefully soon. Yeah, so let's dive into your childhood moments, but let's make it fun. So if you had to choose a dish and a book from your childhood that instantly transport you back in time, what do you think it would be?
A dish and
Do
a
they
book.
have to correlate to each other? No.
No, just a dish and a book maybe. And I'd like to know more, of course, about your relationship with books and reading and how that sort of ignited in you.
Book would be, that's one book that I was a history student also in secondary school. So that book was something I read very early on, and I didn't understand it until I was into my late teens, when you study about communism and all that stuff. And then you suddenly realize that, oh, that was actually what that book was about, right? But when I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, there's this, a bunch of pigs, they're self-rolling now, and then they have the chickens and all the ducks and everything, and the farmers out. Kind of fun for me to read that, because it's like a bit of like an independence thing, right? For the animals in the farm, and then you slowly get into that more gloomier aspect where some of the animals are not treated fairly anymore and all that stuff. So as a kid, I was just like, oh, okay. It was just like a fun book to read. And then as I grew older, that book suddenly became so serious, right? Like I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, okay. I shouldn't have read that book very early on because I didn't understand any of it. Which brings my interest towards which raised my interest actually towards reading is, then I realized what you know now might not be the whole truth. You might realize something like 10 years later from the same book, which is quite interesting to see. Which means what I interpret now and what my future self interpret will be vastly different if there's a chance for it, right? And then now to the more fun part, the food. I would say food of my childhood would be my auntie's bakchang.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love bakchang.
I really like that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
she
sort
makes
of
it
like
killer.
it came from your aunt, not your mom. That sort of
Yeah,
drew
because
you into wanting to get into the food world.
Yes, because when I was a kid, I sometimes stay with her, and my mom has got, I think, 8 siblings. So this was
Big family.
Yeah, so she
Yeah,
was the
sure.
wife of my eldest uncle. She always provides by cooking for everyone. So
that's nice.
any celebratory days, any rituals or ceremonies, we'll go to her house to eat. She will feed us. But then us kids will be gathered around her to make nastar. We'll make like
All
bacang.
hand in
Yeah.
hand.
So we'll just like maybe folding the banana leaves
Yeah, yeah.
for her to fill in with the rice and the fillings.
Right.
Or maybe shaping the balls of the pineapple tarts.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
so-
I
fun.
had so many
That's so
of
fun.
those in your
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah,
It's so good.
So we did at Kinling we did a little bit of our interpretation of what I had as a kid for our guests. But yeah, I think if you ask me the most fun food I had, I think it will be those two because I had fun making them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think I had bakchang at your restaurant.
Oh yeah, you had the kind of lomai kai thing. This the rice, right?
Yeah, the rice.
The rice.
Is that
It's
the
kind
same
of
thing?
it's kind of
Similar.
similar. Similar.
What would be the difference?
I think you know best the difference between bacang and lomai kai.
I think lomakai is like steamed on its own vessel straight
true,
away with
true.
like meats and all that stuff.
True.
So the feeling is kind of different because lomakai is a bit more Kanto-ish style of steamed glutinous rice, whereas bacang is cooked in wrapped in banana leaves, cooked in it.
Yeah.
So the rice is raw when they put it in, and then they just steam the whole thing. But normally the feeling is a bit more different in a sense that it's a bit more Teochew. So it has a lot more seasoning with dark soy sauce, the star anise, the cinnamony kind of style.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cantonese one, where you have in lomakai, is a bit more light. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's how I differentiate
Yeah.
it. So forgive me if I'm wrong.
But I like this discussion where even from two different dishes like lomai kai and bacang, we already entered the realm of geography. He
Yeah.
talks about Cantonese and you talk about Teochew. Like
Yeah.
that's how the beauty of food, right?
Yeah. These are your expertise and field. I'm just so happy that I get to learn and listen more about this. But anyway, I really love what you said about Animal Farm. I actually had to read it at school. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it at first because it's really difficult to understand, and of course I had to read it, you know. But I really love what you said about sort of how perspective can change with time and like with going deeper into things. That's a really nice way. And so you've read Animal Farm again, or was it just like you thought about it?
I thought about it actually, yeah. Because like you, same, I had to read it at school too. So every morning on assembly, everyone had to have a book on their hands just to read for half an hour or 20 minutes, I can't even remember anymore. So I always had that one book in my bag. Whereas some other kids will have like different books, you know, they will switch and I can't be bothered. So I kept reading the same thing. And I could actually recite when the pigs took over from the farmers, you know, when the horses were sent to the slaughterhouse and all that stuff. So that was very vivid for me. Being able to recognize what actually happened in that farm when that revolution happened was quite a shocking realization also for me. Because when I studied history, there was also a lot of we had studied three things basically. It was the rise of the Nazism, we had the communism, which is the Soviet era Stalin, and then we had we had a Singapore's history as well at the same time. So during that Stalin's study phase, all the memories from Animal Farm came back. Yeah, you all came back. You all came back, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you start to correlate one thing to another, and then that's when I realized, actually reading can be a very whimsical thing in terms of your understanding.
And so after Animal Farm, you know, obviously you had a shock in terms of like how powerful a book can be, in terms of changing your perspective and way of thinking. What else were you reading after that? Were you more interested in that sort of books, or did you start getting into books that are, you know, self-development in purpose, or was it like food related?
I think I tried self-help books. You know, like just a few things like I can't remember what the book's title is, but it's by Mark Manson in the orange cover.
Oh, still like a
I want to
mattress?
say it. Wait, is it The Subtle Art of...
Yeah, of not giving a fuck.
I
But,
didn't want to say
so sorry, but I shouldn't curse. But there was a book that I read that I thought I understood,
Oh.
but I didn't. Even now, like looking back at that book, I think I only understand half of it.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah, it's telling you like, okay, not to don't give a shit to this. Like, don't do that. You know, spare your time for things that you care about. I was like, yeah, okay, but some things in that book I felt was it can be interpreted differently because his life is different from mine.
That's true.
So
true.
that's when I stopped reading self-help books because I don't think one experience can necessarily be transplanted to
Yeah.
all the different lives. that,
Yeah,
we
but I
have.
really
So,
love that you're really trying to understand each and every book really deeply.
yeah.
And I love that you sort of realize that, self-help books can backfire. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like the more I read about self-help books, the more I'm confusing myself or the more I'm thinking too much of my own
Yeah.
problems
Yeah.
instead of just like going, I don't know, entertaining myself or reading books about things I'm passionate about that can sort of drive this excitement, motivation, fire
True.
inside of me.
think so.
And yeah, how about you?
Uh,
Take us back to your books and your food. How did you? I think you've known that you've been wanting to write about food or be in the food world since forever. That's
Since
the
forever.
impression I'm getting from you.
Well, I still can't get with the self-help book because I went through that phase also. I was like,
I mean,
Yeah.
they're all bestsellers.
Yeah,
People
I
are
was like,
so
okay.
into those.
I was
And
one of the
because-
suckers that bought
yeah,
into
I was
it.
like, okay,
Yeah.
no, I keep that on my shelf, like on the back.
Yeah,
shelf.
it's interesting because we named our book club Shelf Therapy.
Yeah.
People associate us with self-help books
Yeah.
or books
Yeah.
for your growth and
Yeah.
healing, etc. But our intention is actually to use any kind of books for your there as a form of therapy or healing or
True.
to enrich yourself, because I believe it's not just coming from self-help books. It can come from a novel or fiction,
Yeah.
basically.
True. So yeah, I think when it comes from me, so I live in a very, very kind of military family. So my granddad, he was a 3-star general in the army, but I love how he pushed the grandchildren, I mean even me and my brother and my cousins, to read a lot. So we can't buy comic books when we were a kid. But he said like, you can buy anything you want at a bookstore except comic books. And I was like, yeah, I took my chances. So I went to this book, I think I remember it was when I was like in the elementary in first grade or second grade. So I went to this like big coffee table book. It says 365 Wonders of the World. It's a very huge, nice, colorful book. It tells the story of a kid that goes to each and every day to different wonders of the world. And then it kind of opened my perspective about the world is it's so huge, it's very big. Also you have the Sphinx, so you have this, you have that, you have the Amazons. It was for me when I was like in elementary, I was like, wow. That makes me want to, I think it kind of build my interest in everything, not just about, not even food. I mean, it's about food, it's about art, it's all about human being and stuff like that. And then because I'm into that book, and then I started to ask my parents and my granddads about, who is this president of this country, or who is the leaders of this, the king of this country. And then I ended up having a huge interest in biography when I was also in elementary. So, but because I don't like reading, back then, I don't like to read like all words. They used to have this series of comic books, quote unquote. It's called Seri Tokoh Dunia. So you have Alfred Bernard Nobel, Florence Nightingale, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, and all of those names, the scientists, the makers of the world. So yeah, I bought all of the comics. So I read my Alfred Bernard Nobel story, and I think that kind of built my huge interest in people. And that's why when I write about food, about if you read my books, I think food is just like a gateway for me to understand the people, the culture, the society. So it begins with food, but then it kind of trickles down to the most important thing, which is the relationship between people.
Like food sort of ticks all the interests for you.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
so how did food come into your life? Like what made food so special to you?
I think it's because my family always resonate with food, same like everyone else, right? So my mom is from Manadonese family, so we have lots of Manadonese food at the table. But my dad is from Central Java, dari Magelang. And then every Sunday, every time we go to our grandparents' house, we have lots of good food. And then my grandparents, I would say they are a true foodie. So they took us to the best street food in Jakarta, and then to the 5-star fine dining, so all places. So we were like I would say like kind of privileged in terms of the exposures of food that we had since we were a kid. So I think it kind of builds up, right? And my dad used to have a restaurant and a CBD. So my life revolves around the kitchen, around food. But what kind of becoming my turning point about food is when I read Bon Appetit magazine back in 2008, 2009. And then it was a story written by Barbara Fairchild, the editor-in-chief back then, about the people who shape American dining. And it kind of, it's all about people, right? And it's like, oh, how come stories about people could be, stories about food can be related to people and how it impacts the society, the economics, and then it kind of translate into the trend of the whole country. So it's kind of built my interest. And then I started up to subscribe to lots of food magazines. Back then, we still have lots of international food magazines in Indonesia, but now it's kind of,
Right.
limited, very limited.
That's
So,
really
yeah.
interesting that now it's more limited than before. Do you think it's because of social media?
I think it's because of social media, and I think number 2 is because of the declining of people who read, right,
I see.
these days. But back then, I remember you can have Bon Appetit on the shelves, Food and Wine on the shelves, Savor magazine on the shelves, good food, everything,
Yes, I
Yeah.
oh my god, yes,
Yeah.
it was such a long time ago.
right? When you see that kind of vibrant corner on the magazine store all about food.
Right.
And yeah, but I miss those days.
So you had great curiosity, great exposure towards food, culture,
Yeah.
and writing. Is that when you decided also that you wanted to
Step
be a
into the
writer?
food writer. Yeah, I think so. So it's funny story. My background was a culinary art in Jakarta. So I went to Emily Fine Dining. It was the finest fine dining in the city, the best. Now it's become a Pia restaurant. Amazing dining room, 2 Michelin star from Alan Dukas, and all of great place. And then I went to Bali, to Bulgari, Il Ristorante. And that's where I realized that, oh my gosh, kitchen is not my world. I love food, but I can't work in the kitchen. It's too much. But I feel like, but I still love food, right?
Right.
I still love food. So I kind of get back to what I really love most, which
I
is
see.
reading about food and then writing about food. And then in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, I went to the Ubud Writer and Reader Festival,
Right.
to the session of Pak Bondan almarhum, the amazing food critic Bondan Winarno. And we had a discussion, and then he told me, so why don't you become a food writer? And I said, like, how do I start? And then things becomes, it's like a Pandora box, it opens, and then opportunity happens, and I started to submit my writings to local newspaper one, and then they accepted. It was first a recipe, and I was so happy because yes, finally my recipes went to the newspaper, and then I started to let's challenge myself, let's write about how I observe restaurant,
Right.
and then I submit to another newspaper, and then at the end Jakarta Post catch that, and then
There you go.
there you go.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
But then I was gonna ask you both, like, what about cooking as a kid? Were you guys in the kitchen at all?
I hear it. I can yes. I will say yes. But not too much ya kayaknya ya.
No, like instant noodles.
Really?
Yeah, fried eggs.
Really?
That's
So,
probably it. I
What
think.
made you like, okay, I want to study cooking? I love cooking.
For me, it started when I was in school. So I was looking for a part-time job, and I got one in a hawker center. So that was kind of fun, and I thought the guy that I worked for was pretty hip himself. His name is
Okay.
Eddie, and he's the one who pushed me to the field. They're saying like, hey, if you wanna go, you can make a living out of this. It's a pretty cool job. I was like, okay, I bought into it. I bought into it. And he told me, if you want to go like serious, you shouldn't be here. You should go to work in a proper restaurant. I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And then one day, my school just sent out like an email blast to everyone saying like, hey, there's a restaurant that's looking for part-time workers. If you guys want to go, let us know. I was like, sure, I'll take it. It pays a little bit more. I'll take the job. It was pretty far. I was in Sentosa.
Yeah.
But it was the first fine dining restaurant I ever stepped into.
Oh.
Do you know who the guy was? Apparently, it was there was Atelier Joel Robuchon, and he was at the
Oh
time.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You know
The
who
first
the
job.
guy is?
I don't know who the guy is. So I was
I
like,
think so.
yeah, all I knew was that they're gonna pay me $8.50 an hour.
Oh.
As compared to like $5.50 what I earned in the hawker center.
Yeah.
I said, cool, I'll take it. $8.50, no problem. I go, and I have no idea what the restaurant is, what the style is.
Oh, you did not.
I have no clue.
okay.
You didn't know it was
Ah.
just better paid than
Yeah,
the
and
hawker
in the
center.
kitchen there's like his portrait on the kitchen, right? There's like a black and white portrait of him. This was before he passed away anyway, but we had that picture of him with his signature pose there on the wall. And I was like, whose grandpa is this? And I was like,
I like that.
Which president is this maybe?
yeah, I was like, and then you saw like the big sort of framed up
Yeah.
team picture, and he was there right in the center.
His
I
grandpa.
was like, oh, this is probably the owner of the restaurant. I was like, that was my first impression. I was like, my first day there. I was like, yeah, you just learn, and then you struggle. I struggled a lot
Yeah.
because I wasn't exposed to French cuisine when I was a kid. So I had no idea what parsley is, or like what thyme is, or if they have something really nice like Mirabelle plum, for example. The guy told me, can you pick up some Mirabelle for me? I was like, who's that? I was like, who's that? Who's that?
He said, oh, what is
Yeah.
that? Who's that?
Because it sounds like someone's name, right? Mirabelle. I was like,
They put it
who's
on the
that?
lobby. Pick up on the
Yeah.
lobby.
Who's that? So that was like the struggle I had when I was cooking. But then it also sparks an interest where there's actually a lot of interesting things in this world, right? So I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just dig a little bit deeper. And then as you dig, you never stop.
Yeah.
And then now I have my own restaurant. So yeah, that's how it went. Yeah.
So your curiosity sort of made you keep going in this
Yeah.
world, but when was the point where you realized that, oh, I really love what I do, I really love food and cooking, or you haven't realized that yet?
I think the joy comes from two things mainly. One is having obviously people enjoying the food that you do, that they had a good time. Not necessarily it might be the food, it might be the service, it might be the music that night, but to see people being happy is one thing. That I think is very rewarding for anyone. I think it's the same as gift giving, right? If you give somebody something, they're happy about it, you feel good about yourself. Good, that's one thing. And the second thing, I think the source of happiness comes from seeing people who you work with make something out of themselves. So if there's a chance where if I can contribute to someone's growth, and they felt that helped them in the future, that makes me feel really, really happy to witness growth.
So from the childhood kitchen, I want to get into more of the importance of storytelling, because I've been to both of your restaurants, which are incredible, and I really loved the storytelling aspect to it, from you, Vallian, sharing stories about your life translated to your food, and to Essa also sharing stories about whether it's Jakarta or nostalgic
Nostalgia,
types of
yeah.
Indonesian cuisine
Yeah.
made into gastronomy. Yeah, I would like to just know more about your perspective on storytelling, the importance of it in terms of putting it on a table.
Yeah. I think as a human being, and basically as a human being, we are a very social people. No matter like you say like, oh, I'm introvert, I'm extrovert. Nonetheless, we all social people, and we love, and I think we need to hear other people's stories, right?
Yeah.
Because we are connected in some ways, and the misconception of storytelling is people always limit storytelling to books and then newspapers and all media, which is true. That's the main, I think, the main thing about storytelling. But in a restaurant, as a restaurateur and as a food writer that turns into a restaurateur, I'm seeing that restaurant is the best. I think kind of the best way for you to share your story in terms of the experience, because you can translate every elements from your story into a sensory experience, from music, from taste, from aroma, even from the people dress, even for the decoration. You can play around with it, and I think that what makes some restaurant experience different, right? When people go into your restaurant, they kind of go into your world, right? You introduce them into your world, you introduce them into your perspective, not trying to be like self-centered on things like that, but we want them to enjoy, like when you go to a concert, right? You just immerse yourself in the music and in the nice, stage decoration, and I think it's the way the musician tells story about their lives through the music, through the lyrics. I think it's the same with food, with restaurants, and that's what we are doing at ESA, for example. That's why nostalgia, the theme, because for us, especially for me, I think it's really important to understand that nostalgia is an ingredient. Nostalgia is not only a kind of intangible things as a concept. Nostalgia is an ingredient. I think many chefs, I think almost every chef that I've met and I work with and then I interviewed, they always kind of recall something from the childhood or from the moments they're exposed to things during their teenagehood or when they first explore their taste bud explore to the world. They always have the hint of nostalgia here and there. So I think it's really important for restaurants to think nostalgia as an important ingredient. I think that's what makes storytelling interesting when it comes to the dining experience of the people. Yeah.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is that you may present a nostalgic dish to you that I could relate to because I grew up here, but there could also be other visitors that come in who has never tasted Indonesian food and like they have a whole individual experience or
That's
new
true.
experience to themselves that are very, I guess, fresh and eye-opening and interesting. I also want to know more a little bit from you about why should restaurants talk to people or write in their menu about these types of stories?
I think because fundamentally, food needs to be a part of a conversation. Food has always been and will always be a medium for conversation. I love when Ronald Reagan says that the biggest changes in America started at the dinner table. That's how Ronald Reagan said. I was like, I love that because lots of great ideas, even resolve of problems and issues, all started at the dinner table. So what excludes restaurant from that? I said like, no, restaurant has their own story. Let's set aside the fine dining experience. When you go to traditional street food vendors, when you go to legendary eateries, perhaps you've tasted a better version of that dish somewhere else. But you go to that place because of the feel, the story that the restaurants perhaps already, immersed in every element of that restaurant for almost 30, 40, 50 years of their existence. I think that what makes it beautiful when it comes to the dining experiences. Like, guests needs to feel your food, not just taste it and anything like. And that's different from fast food. But a good eating experience has to be sensory. I think it has to be, it's kind of a little bit spiritual in a way. Like it hits you into your soul, right?
Do you think it changes the flavor of the food?
Yes, definitely. There's a scientific reason, right? Definitely. I read a scientific reason, amazing study about the importance of food, the importance of nostalgia, and then intangible elements in the dining experience, and how it increased the palatability of a dish. It's scientifically proven. So yeah.
Right. Every chef should listen to
Yes, it increases revenue.
Yeah, increases the revenue, most important thing. But anyway, I've also went to Kindling, and from the moment I arrived until, we finished our dinner and we were talking about the restaurant and even the interior, there's so much story coming from you that I was surprised actually.
I envy his space. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, can you please tell the story? And was it also intentional that you had all these stories you wanted to present to the world, basically? Is that how you sort of approached it, or was it like
think,
an accident? Beautiful accident.
I think my point of view, like I think storytelling is about context, right? It gives you context. Storytelling gives you context, and I think context then gives weight to whatever you do. So, for us to have a certain weight in our delivery of our food to the guests, because the cuisine is very personal. It's a very personal cuisine to me. So, the inspiration is instinctive. It's just a personal cuisine of mine. But then how do I communicate this to the guest? I think one is through the architecture. That's a part of the storytelling. And it wasn't by chance actually when I discussed this with my business partner Mike. I told him, look, I want the restaurant to be in a certain type of building. It's not gonna be your regular sort of like ruko or building. I wanted to be housed in a building that has a history behind. That's number one. 2, it has to feel like a home. 3, it's gotta be big.
Wait, just for everyone to know, this is your first restaurant.
Yes, this is the first restaurant that,
Yeah.
So, and then it's gonna be big. And so he's got like, so he was like, oh, that's a pretty tall ask. But he did find something that eventually became Kindling. And we are really happy with the way the renovation was done, because it was a really old house of Bu Lili Kasum. We actually preserve as much as we can out of that house. The facade, the entirety of the facade, the inner structure of the building, we kept it as it is, or it was, which is a home. So the cuisine that we do is very homey. It's very comforting because everything is based on me and my team's childhood, our experience growing up eating certain food in our house, at home. So to have the architecture to support that part of the architecture to support that food delivers that storytelling part nicely to the guest. But sometimes we felt that there are more that we can do for sure. Yeah.
And in terms of creating the dishes for you, do you find inspiration from books, or is it purely just like your memories and your stories?
I think if you talk about inspiration from books, it might not be necessarily the way an item is used or the way the person is cooking something. It's more on reading what the person is thinking, the thought process behind why he makes a certain thing, right? That's one thing. And then the second part where the inspiration comes from is obviously from our memories of the earliest part of our food memory, what we ate before, how we experience a certain ingredient. And then growing up as a chef also, obviously you work under different chefs, you're being taught different techniques, and now you start to look at the things that you had before on a different view, like a different point of view. Yeah,
Different lens.
different lens, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about the importance of books as a chef? Or for your team, do you recommend them to read certain books? Or is there a book for you that sort of change the way that you cook? Or I'm just curious.
I would
coming from a
recommend
chef.
reading to everyone basically. In my team, like I really would. I really would, because it can really open up some avenues in your life that you might not have approached if you didn't think differently, right? Like one book that I think, actually there's two books. There are two books that I think influence the way we do things at Kindling. The first one is A New Napa Cuisine by Christopher Costong. He was the chef at the restaurant at Meadowood in Napa Valley, which unfortunately burnt down. But there is a very specific line in his book. I think it was in the earlier chapter or like middle chapters, where he said specificity is the new luxury.
Specificity.
Sort of like
Personalization.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's not about how expensive a certain thing is, right? Like, I think this is what, I think we spoke about this in Kindling too, that's why you don't see any like expensive chandeliers or marble floors or pristine white tablecloth on a table, is because we felt that for us is lazy luxury. They're just things that you buy and then you just plonk it on. Whereas we want, how do we measure specificity then? It's what is the intention of doing something? What is the intention of that door being designed to swing this way? Why is that light placed there? Why is the ingredient used this way? The intent behind, I think, counts more towards the guest. I think they can feel it too, as opposed to just buying something expensive and just piling everything on the table, right? So that influences us in the way that we do things differently. We don't just buy good ingredients now and just put it on top of each other, but we use it in a very meaningful way where it enhances someone's experience. It enhances the way the food tastes, not just there because it has to be there because the Jakarta market is looking for it, if that makes sense.
True.
Right?
How do you convince people to do that? How do you convince your investors or your team? How do you change that way of thinking? Because it's so deeply rooted in Jakarta or other places in Indonesia.
I think they had to feel it first and foremost, right? So you make it for them.
Right.
Like
You let them know that this can be done this way, and then explain it to them like this is the way we do things. That hopefully will resonate within the guests, the crowd that we have, and hopefully pray to God that they believe in it. That's what I did. So actually, my business partner Mike, he has not tasted. He didn't. He tasted my food when I was in my previous restaurant, but only once. And it was a very different thing compared to what I'm doing now. So it also took him a big leap of faith in me to do what we do in Kindling, and thankfully the reception has been pretty great. How we actually connect to back again, like what Kevindra said, to the nostalgia of people, food memory. So that's one. That book influenced the way we do things, not necessarily just cooking, but every other things. And then the second book I would say is Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Bidara. That book comes from the other side of things, where it's the service kind of side of things. I think you've read this book, no?
Yeah,
What's
amazing
that? Amazing book.
But this book is focused on hospitality.
Yeah.
And
Hospitality.
service.
But you can actually apply that to
everything.
every field, every single part of your life. You can actually apply his principle.
I think it's very universal, yeah.
It's very universal. But he explained it to you through the scope, the lens of someone who's working in hospitality.
I see.
Yeah. But a lot of things that he say, you could actually put in your daily life.
How about vice versa? Are there novels or books that are totally not related to food that sort of influence you in your career and professional life?
Novels. Huh?
Except for Animal Farm.
Back
You know
again
that's
to Animal Farm.
ingrained in you.
No, but I do have a big regret that I did not read. So in my old house in Medan, my cousin had a huge collection of Agatha Christie's book,
Oh, I love Agatha Christie.
and it was all like murder mysteries,
Yeah,
right? Like all the crime novels. I think she had like a whole cupboard of it, and I didn't read it because I think too young as well
Yeah,
to read
makes sense.
such serious books, and even at one point I wasn't allowed to anyway, because they think like it's gonna influence the way I grew up or something. But I still had regrets on that part where I didn't read those novels. Will it have changed the way I do things? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do regret that I didn't read those books. Yeah.
So do you read novels now, or just mainly?
No, I don't think I have the attention span for it anymore.
Right.
I do read still, but most of them are books that are related to hospitality. Not necessarily cookbooks, but more on books like Under General Hospitality, for example. I can read that book like 10 times over.
And it's timeless.
And I will still refer to it
Yeah.
to anything that I am not sure sometimes. Like, I actually explain to all my staff on the floor that you guys have to read this book. Yeah.
But it comes to a point where there's a point where you've already read all the books about hospitality. You want to explore more. Maybe that's where novels can come in to just sort of.
Sure, like, I'm not sure how, but I think any books will give you a different way of thinking. Because somebody wrote it, right? Somebody wrote that book.
Yeah.
So somebody must have thought about certain things a certain way.
Yeah.
So for me, I think we just read into the person's intention. Then we see if we can apply it to our daily life. It makes things different. Might be better, might be worse. You never know. But to read through someone's intention through a book, I think is very important.
How about you? What kind of books do you read?
Oh,
I know you read a lot,
Yeah.
but is it mainly related to what you do now in your career, or do you still read books for pleasure and
Yeah.
to satisfy your curiosity?
Curiosity outside of the food topics, definitely. I think the first book that gives a different perspective for me about the world of food, other than like recipe and food magazine, was Emile Zola's novel. Emile Zola wrote an amazing novel. It's a timeless classic. It's called The Belly of Paris. So it's a book about Les Halles, the market in France, in Paris, in the heart of Paris, and the story is revolving around those market, about the Revolution era, and then how the gap between the rich and the poor in the market that known as the belly of Paris. I think it kind of changed my perspective on that, on how, oh wow, turned out to be pasar has bigger function other than just place for you to buy things and consumption. It's a place for before all the cafe and restaurant, market is the hub, right? And then I read lots of biography, history, of course. I love the book. It's written by Jeffrey Steingarten. I forgot the name of the book, the title. It's written by Jeffrey Steingarten about 10 people who changed the world, from historian, from bankers, from the Rothschilds, and then the Andrew Carnegie and all those names. I love the kind of biography about those people. And then another book that I love to read, and I think everybody that working in the creative industry or so could have to read, is The Eye. The Eye. The Eye is a compilation. It's a stories about the world's most creative directors. The world's best creative directors, from Alexandre de Betac to Dries van Noten to all of those names, all those people within the creative field in the world, from museum curator and all the stuff. So they share the perspective of how they became the creative director of this fashion house or this museum or this or that. I think that's really, really interesting. What else? Yeah. Novel. What's the latest novel that I've read? A lot.
What's the latest book that you're reading?
Oh, it's kind of serious. I have this one with me.
Edible Economics.
This is the book, Edible Economics. You know that. Sometimes I also question myself why I read this book, but I think it's because I always been interested with people, right? With the connection between food and then the economic and society. And I realize, yes, I own my restaurant now, but our responsibility in the field of food is actually bigger. Imagine like today, there are 8 billions of people living in the world, and in 2040, the UN predicted there will be about like 10 plus billion of people, and the big question mark is how to feed the masses. And it kind of is the question that always haunted me now, like how we feed the masses, yeah. And now I know why chef like Jose Andres created World Central Kitchen, and then I know why chef like Alice Waters now established more than 1,000 food schools in the US, and why all of those people now kind of evolve in the way of their contribution in the culinary world. And yeah, I think this is the book, amazing book, is about Ha Joon Chang, the professor of economics from London, and he speak about from the perspective about the relationship between okra and then the slavery, the relationship between spices and then the global economics. Yeah, I think I love this kind of topic. I think we as people, especially us from the food industry, I think this is kind of our homework, I would say.
So how do we feed the masses?
How do we open more restaurants?
Open more restaurants and write about it. But how have the books that you've read helped you shape the successful restaurant that you started with?
Oh, we still new lah. We still new lah.
But how do you think it sort of helped you shape that? Because I also want people watching or listening to know more about how books and what kind of books can help them in their career, especially in the food world.
Well, I think for us, it's no matter what kind of book that you read, it gives you new perspective. It's really important for us to open to different types of ideas, different types of conversation, and then kind of being critical some way, because food, like any other field, is evolving, right? Food always evolve, and it evolves with the people, it evolves with the society also, with the trends definitely, and then with the economics, food evolves, and books is kind of gateway for us to understand what happened around us, right? It's a curated way to understand what's happened around us. For us to understand what's happened around us, you can see on social media and stuff like that. And book is something that is legit, it went through lots of process. And yeah, I think it's a curated way for us to see the world around us, and it's really important because if you go to ESA, you see lots of books scattered everywhere, right? In the chef's table, and then in the counter, in front of the kitchen,
Yeah, I love that.
on top of the shelves and everything. It's all private collection of me, Aditya, and Jessica, and different types of books and different types of topics. You could see titles like the basics of Faidon's cookbooks from chefs into something more like food history. So everything is on there, and as people can read also. If they go to ESA, they intrigued with the book, just open and then read it.
Right, because people see books as so secondary. If they want to be a chef, they have to just cook. No, but you also have to study, you have to read, you have to
have that kind of
dive
critical,
deep, find inspiration,
that's true,
etc. You also mentioned Consider the Oyster to me.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I just want you to talk a little bit more about that book.
I love Consider the Oyster. So I think Mary Frances Fisher is she was the pioneer of food memoir. And then what I like from that book, MFK Fisher, she only speak about one single ingredients, humble oyster, but from that, the perspective of nostalgia and understanding of originality, and then understanding yourself. That's what I like from that book. There's another one title from Mary MFK Fisher is I think it's something with the fork, something like that. It's also about how you eat as a human being. So I think that's what I like from MFK Fisher's writing. Yeah, element of nostalgia and then elements of it's so raw. The story, especially in Consider the Oyster, for me it's very raw. It's a very raw story about her childhood and her affection and then her family. I think that's the genre that Indonesian books still have gaps to fill. Lacking. Yeah. Especially we all say that Indonesia is very rich in food, Indonesia is very rich in the food culture. Yes, we are, but we haven't seen any books other than Aruna dan Lidahnya by Laksmi Pamuncak that talks about relationship between food and people and with them.
What do you think is lacking, maybe from you, Vallian,
Yeah.
in the Indonesian food scene that could have taking us further than where we are now?
She's out to make me a public enemy.
Spill it,
No,
spill it.
what do you think we can do? How can we change,
Yeah.
the Indonesian food scene? Because I see you just, sharing with us your talent, your story, your skills in the kitchen, and even your perspective on books and your knowledge to your team is shaping the young food scene here a lot. So how can we
I think
expand that?
the cuisine that we do at Kindling is a bit more Chinese Indonesian. So, but you can apply this to the Indonesian cuisine as well, right? I don't think it needs to be changed. I don't think Indonesian cuisine needs to be changed. I think it's got enough history, it's got enough layers,
True.
it's got enough culture, it's the most original cuisine I think you can find in the whole world, where every single region, has very different sort of taste profile, even way of doing things. Like go to Central Java and you go to Maluku, it's different, right? And it's all part of the same country, the Nusantara cuisine. What I think we need to do is actually to start cooking it with more pride, as we would do in European cuisine. It doesn't have to be changed, but it has to be respected by us who grow up eating it. That we need to do it with enough finesse and pride that we will do other cuisine. Like
That's true.
be proud of what we put on the plate, right? And that's why in Kindling also we chose to spot this, to put this Indonesian and Chinese flavor into spotlight, because we felt that this is what we want to show, and we are proud of doing that, and hopefully the guest gets it. If by any off chance that they don't, then we just have to try harder. Yeah.
I love that. Adding more pride as an
Yeah.
ingredient.
As an ingredient.
Because our food or even techniques is on par with other countries. It's just how would you address it? Like, what would you do? I mean, or maybe I know you want to write more about it. You want to maybe document it.
Yeah.
What other things do you have in mind, or even the challenges that you feel you're facing?
I think I kind of echoing what Val said about the pride. What I really see, I think it's from my perspective, yeah. I want to call people who have, especially the younger generation, that has a strong interest in cuisine, in food, in Indonesian food and history. Please consider taking an academic degree in any kind of food-related things. I think we need more people. We need more food historian, we need more food scientists, we need more food anthropologists, we need more food writers to document and then to kind of create the I wouldn't say intellectuality, I would say this kind of movement of Indonesian gastronomy, because Indonesia is so huge. We are in Jakarta, we are only this small dots in the island of Java. Even I can't be the master of even all Javanese food, right? You need someone who understands Central Java cuisine. You need someone who understands Minangkabau cuisine. You need someone who understands Balinese food, and then Sundanese, and then East of Java. Okay, we need lots of people from that region to master those kind of cuisine. Perhaps they are a food historian, food anthropologist, chef, name it. And then we can move as one big country that says, okay, this is our cuisines, and then if a chef, for example, of a restaurant, wants to get, I really want to have this inspiration about Mananese food. It's very hard for chef or restaurants to find, okay, who's the person to go? And then who really have this very strong understanding about the history of Mananese food? Who has this very strong understanding on Sundanese food, the ingredients of Sunda, of Jawa Barat? So I think that's what kind of makes us our, especially restaurant for me personally, it's kind of the locomotive. It's the first phase of, you want to introduce the masses to a cuisine, to a food culture, restaurant is the best way to popularize it, right? But it needs to be backed up by all of these important food intellectuals. If you go to the UK, you have lots of food historians, food anthropologists. Heston Blumenthal, he spent like day and night, go to the library, spoke to the librarian about food literature, food story. Ferran Adria, I mean, he helped establish Basque Culinary Center, right? And then to give a new generation of food scientists, and then people who focus on the Basque cuisine and stuff like that. Renrat Zepi, he established MAT Foundation specifically about raising the awareness of Scandinavian food culture. We need that movement to support everyone.
Yeah, we need Vallian to come up with a cookbook.
Yeah, sure.
Here she comes
Yes, please.
You
Please,
need another book?
we need cookbooks from chef like
Chefs
fine
in
dining chef in
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Actually, there's
Exactly.
one cookbook I think written by an Indonesian chef there. I think it was a great cookbook. It's called Pound.
Oh yeah, Chef Wayan, definitely.
I see.
Very good cookbook.
Yeah.
I've read that one. I've read it. I think my friend's copy.
Yeah.
Haven't bought it yet. Sorry, Chef Wayan. If you wanna send me one copy, feel free to. But I love that book in the sense that he went quite in depth
True.
on. There's part of his childhood inside the book, right? But there's also like the general history of the Balinese cuisine in that whole in that book as well. So to find something as comprehensive as that on different Indonesian cuisine, difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
There's
So
not
difficult.
that many. That's why
Yeah.
one of my hopes is to have young chefs like you to come up with
Thank
cookbooks
you.
as
Yeah,
well.
true. Yeah,
It's
really.
so true.
Especially like Indonesian Chinese. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
The cookbook specific about that.
Yeah, I wrote
That would be a nice idea.
Indonesian cookbook recommendations for my blog, and I could only find less than 10
Yeah.
to recommend.
true.
So there's really not that
Yeah.
many, and we need young
Yeah.
chefs, young people in the food world to write more about it.
Yeah.
And so, what are you working on next?
A lot of things. I'm trying to do outside of restaurant, of course. You know, we are doing the same thing about the food festival and all stuff like that. But about books, I'm thinking about writing a book about more of the novel. I'm writing now 2 titles of a novel, all about food. This is going to be my first fiction book. Fingers crossed. Of course, inside of the book will be embedded with stories about food cultures and then food communities and the elements that I've never read before in any Indonesian fiction or novels. I think it's gonna bring a new genre, right? Because if you want to make food popular, I think we need to make food popular from different angles, from the literature side, from the industry side, from the education side, from any other side. We kind of like bombardize like everything with food, right? With Indonesian food excellence. I think that it's worth the effort.
Yeah, and like having, for example, a cookbook by you, it adds value to you
Yeah.
and to your restaurant too. But apart from the books, what are your hopes for the Indonesian food space for now?
I think the acceptance and I think the understanding for different kind of cuisine that I hope they are a little bit more accepted. In a sense that I like this. Okay, sorry, I put it in such a way that's so difficult to understand. But if you take Jakarta, for example, I think if you take 15 years ago, I think people will associate luxury dining with steakhouse.
Oh yes.
Steakhouses, right? Like, oh, it's a pasta joints or an Italian restaurant.
Western.
Or French.
French,
Yeah.
Western, Italian.
Yeah.
Whereas now I think you have really, really good Indonesian restaurant that I think are doing just as great in terms of product.
Yeah.
They are just as great in terms of product. Like Daun Muda, for example.
Yeah. Mata
Amazing.
keranjang.
Yeah, Mata Keranjang. You have Daun Muda. You have even was this Semesta by Rembulan.
Oh,
Was it or
yes,
Semaja by
Rembulan.
Rembulan or Semesta by Rembulan?
Semesta by Rembulan,
Semesta by
Semaja by
Rembulan.
Ismail.
Oh yeah, Semesta by Rembulan, the one here in Asta. I think
Yeah.
they're doing like great food. But why is it that like they have the value, the perceived value of this restaurant are not as high as an Italian restaurant, for example, or a French restaurant, for example? I just hope there's more acceptance towards our own food, that we can place a premium on it. It's not just considered as hawker food
Yeah.
or kaki lima food. You know, like it's these things can be done properly too. You know, and you gotta be willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the importance is not just the food from overseas, but our own food. It has to be placed on the same pedestal as you place all the other things that you have already done before. Now it's our time to put our food on to the stage to show people what they are.
Would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I think same with that. We need more regional cuisines to be highlighted. Indonesia is so rich. And with mata keranjang, they highlight the Manadonese food in a more modern and high-end level. And then with, I think daun muda is a little bit Palembang and also Manado
So
thing,
good, man.
right?
Oh my god.
I think we need more of those kind of restaurant, more young chefs, or maybe not young, but all chefs lah, to go into that route, to showcase that we can, because I still believe, and this belief is not only because we are Indonesian, I'm Indonesian, but we see the trend that moves, that Indonesia is kind of Asia's best kept secret, or even the world's best kept secret in gastronomy. And I really remember when I had a coffee time with Juan Roca from El Sardikan Roca in 2018. We had a coffee in Melbourne, and then he told me this thing that I cannot forget until now. He said like, "Oh, I spent my Christmas in Yogyakarta, and I spent my New Year, Kevin, in Bali. Only 45 minutes by airplane, right? But the cuisines are totally different. The character, and from chef's perspective, for him it was like an epiphany, as if Yogyakarta and Bali are two different countries. When we don't even talk about Padang, kita belum ngomong tentang Sunda, Manado. Imagine like if a person like Juan Roca could be impressed and then inspired by those two cuisines of Yogyakarta and Bali. Imagine if you are able to bring all of that regional cuisines, in the same pedestal like Val said, and then to give a publicity that our cuisine deserves. We are going to be a global sensation, for sure.
Agree. It's been such a fascinating conversation connecting food and books today. And
Thank
I
you,
think we
Laksmi.
can all talk about books the whole day. But before we wrap things up, lastly, let's do a rapid fire. Name one book, one dish, and one destination. Go.
Go, Kevin.
One book, oh goodness. Should I do this? Okay, one destination Yogyakarta, one dish is krecek, and then one book is edible economics.
What was it? One book, one food, and one.
One book, one dish, and one destination.
Oh, shit, one book. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. One food. Steamed fish, Chinese style. One destination has to be here in Indonesia.
Anywhere.
Ah, okay. I'll go to Guangzhou.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for the both of
Laksmi.
you, and all the best for everything you do in the future.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having
much.
us, Laksmi.
Thank you.
Pleasure.